Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reaperon, and today we're going to be doing another tier list. This is for Killing Floor 2, and we're going to be taking a look at all of the Survivalist skills. Then we're going to be ranking them according to how good I think that they are. Anyway, let's start out by talking about the level 5 perks. Our first one is Tactical Reload. This increases your reload speed with Commando, Gunslinger, and SWAT weapons. This one gives you, I believe it's 20 or 30% the same way that all the reload speed perks do. This one, I honestly don't think is as good as the heavy weapons training, which is faster reloads for demo, sharpshooter, and support weapons, simply because the assault rifles already, most of them reload fairly quickly. The pistols reload decently fast, and the submachine guns all reload quite fast, except for maybe the Bastion. But then almost all of the demo, sharpshooter, and support weapons don't reload all that quick. So they benefit more from this than the other weapons. I also tend to go with more of the demo, sharpshooter, and support weapons because they just fit my playstyle a bit better. That's not to say the tactical reload could be worse than the heavy weapons training. It depends on what you want to build for Survivalist and what your team needs. So if your team needs more medic weapons, it might make more sense to go with like a medic SMG and a medic assault rifle and go with the faster reloads, and then rely on something like a centerfire for more damage, or 500 Magnum, or dual 500 Magnums. But if your team doesn't need that extra healing and maybe needs extra damage, going with heavy weapons training makes more sense, because you could go with something like a kaboom stick, a seal squeal, an RPG, something like that to help you out more. So for the tactical reload, I think I'm going to put this one into the lower end of B tier, and I'm going to put the heavy weapons training higher up into B tier, because I don't think that they're necessarily any better or worse than one another. I think that there's more situations where heavy weapons training helps out more so than tactical reload does, but that's not really to underplay either of them, and both of them do give you benefits, especially with certain weapons that take longer to reload. Also, some of these do affect weapons either way. Like the FAL is both a commando and a sharpshooter weapon, so regardless of which one of these you take and you like taking the FAL, it'll work for both. It's the same with weapons like the M16 or the centerfire or a single 500 Magnum. Now we move on to the level 10 skills. Our first one is medic training. Medic training increases the proficiency of all of your healing by 30%. This also includes weapons as well as your healing syringe and medic grenades as well. This also decreases the cooldown of your syringe as well as your healing darts by 50%. This one is really nice to have, and if you want to go for more of a medic build, more of a support build, or more of a self-sustaining build, this one is a really good choice for Survivalist, and I'd probably put this one up into A tier. Our other level 10 is Melee Expert. Melee Expert increases your melee attack speed by 20%. You inflict 75% more damage with melee weapons, and you move 25% faster with melee weapons. This is another really good one, because even if you don't intend on taking a melee weapon, you can still make use of this, because you will always have your knife that you can pull out and use. But if you do want to take melee weapons, which is actually a really strong choice on Survivalist, you get even more benefit out of this. It especially helps if you're running something like the Hemoclobber, in which case you're getting healing, plus mobility, plus the ability to block. You're just getting like a full package of all sorts of great things if you go with that specific weapon. But it could also work with other weapons, like if you wanted to go with the Pulverizer. That's a pretty good weapon on Survivalist too, because you could even go with something like the heavy weapons training to have a faster reload with it, and you get to move around faster, you do more damage. Good things all the way around. I think I'm actually going to put this one a little bit lower into A tier than the medic training, because I think the medic training is always going to be useful regardless of what loadout you want to take, simply because your healing syringe is always there, always handy to have, and just the 50% reduction on the healing cooldown time alone is really good. Where Melee Expert, you do always have a benefit too, because you have your knife, but I think it benefits more so if you want to go specifically melee weapons. Then we move on to our level 15s. We have Ammo Vest. Ammo Vest makes it so that you carry up to 15% more ammo with all of your weapons, and you also get healing grenades rather than your standard grenade. If you're below level 15 with Survivalist, then you start out with the high explosive grenade that Commando has, unless you're up to level 15, and you either start out with medic grenades or you start out with Molotovs, depending on which of these that you take. This one I always take early on, because medic grenades alone are really strong. They can get you through the early waves very easily. They can heal up your team. They're very good on any sort of holdout area, so if you want to contain the area, this one is always going to be really good. I'd probably put this one up into B tier, at the high end of B tier, because the medic grenades alone put it that high. The extra increase in ammo is just kind of a nice bonus on top of that. Then we have the weapon harness. Weapon harness makes it so we increase our total weight carry by 5. So we can then go from 15 to 20. This is similar to switching from like pretty much any other class to switching to a max level support. You can have even more weapons then. And you also get the Molotovs with this. Molotovs on Survivalist are alright. They're not as good as they are on Firebug, simply because Firebug has the fire resist to them. So you can throw Molotovs at your feet without too much risk, even if you're not super high leveled with Firebug. If you are max level Firebug, you can throw them at your feet and suffer no consequences whatsoever. But if you try doing that with Survivalist, you could kill yourself very easily, because Molotovs will do a decent amount of damage over time. They are really good for killing crowds. They're really good for throwing at choke points, because they do kill small enemies very quick. Things like stalkers, crawlers, clots, anything like that, they'll kill very quickly. And that extra 5 weight is really nice to have a lot of the time, because if you wanted to go with something like the AA-12, and then the RPG, you can do that with Survivalist. It lets you have more combinations than you normally would, especially if you like going with the very heavy weapons like the AA-12, the Doomstick, the 50 cal, the Railgun, RPG, really anything that weighs more than, I would say, 8 or so. So I think I'd put this one up into B tier, even though I don't use it as much as the ammo vest. I actually might put it lower than the reload ones, because a lot of the time I don't switch over to weapon harness unless I have a specific build in mind that I want to use. At our level 20 perks, we have Spontaneous Zed Explosion. This makes it so any Zed that you kill has a 30% chance of exploding, dealing damage to all nearby enemies, and stunning all nearby enemies. This one is really good. This is the same that Firebug has, and this is one of their best skills. This is probably one of Survivalist's best skills. It could even be seen as better on Survivalist, because you can kill any enemy with any weapon, and you can have this effect go. And stunning enemies, especially if you stun large crowds, or if you stun large Zeds like Skrakes and Flesh Pounds, that makes it easier for everybody involved. It's really good if you want to combine this with any sort of AoE weapon, any weapon that deals damage to multiple enemies, whether that be Pulverizer, Hemoclobber, any of Demo's weapons. Even weapons like the Freeze Thrower do have some AoE to them. So any of those are really strong with this. Even regular weapons are really strong with this, like just pairing it with submachine guns or shotguns or whatever. Always going to be a strong choice, and I'd probably put this one up into S tier. Our other level 20 is Make Things Go Boom. Make Things Go Boom increases your explosion resistance and the area of effect of explosion weapons by 40%. Now, this doesn't only include explosion weapons, because it also affects weapons like Hemoclobber that have an AoE hit, so this will make it even larger. This also makes any sort of explosive weapon much larger than it would normally be, and you do have the explosive resist, so going with weapons like the grenade launcher or going with the Seal Squeal are more advantageous for you, because even though you can injure yourself, you're going to injure yourself less than you normally would. This one is also really strong with weapons like the Hemoclobber and the Pulverizer, giving you a good amount of AoE damage. I really enjoy it. This also affects Medic Grenades AoE as well. So if you take something like the Medic Assault Rifle, the one that has the underbarrel grenade launcher in it, you can actually have even larger areas of healing gas spraying out, which is always going to be nice. Even though I don't use it very much, I think I'd still probably put it on the low end of A tier, because it does give you a surprising amount of utility towards it. It also somewhat helps on boss wave, at least towards certain bosses like Hans, where you do have explosion resist against his grenades. And then we move on to our level 25 Zed Time perks. Our first one is Madman. Madman just makes it so during Zed Time you can shoot 3 times faster than you normally would. So you pretty much shoot in real time. This can be really good if you like running big capacity weapons like the AA-12, any of the assault rifles or submachine guns, things like that. You can get a pretty decent amount of benefit out of this one, and it's not bad. It's just it's really basic for a Zed Time perk, and I'd probably also put this one somewhere into B tier. It's never going to be a bad choice, but it's not always going to be a great choice either, especially if you're using like single shot weapons like the Railgun or the RPG or something like that, where you're not going to get all that much value out of it then. And our other Zed Time perk is Lockdown. This makes it so during Zed Time, all of your weapons have a 100% chance to stun any enemy. So this is really strong once again with fast shooting weapons. It's even strong with just AoE weapons in general, so grenade launchers, anything from Demo really, submachine guns, assault rifles. Having a 100% stun chance is really good. You can stun Flesh Pound, Skrakes, just large crowds of enemies very easily. This one I really enjoy. It's pretty straightforward, but I'd still probably put it high up into A tier. It's always going to be a good perk to have. Thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did and you're new here, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post these videos. Special thanks to all the supporters of the channel. These are my members over here on YouTube, as well as my patrons over on Patreon. If you would like to be a part of that, there are links down in the description below. You get early access to some of these videos. So thanks to everybody who does that. If you would like to see my other Killing Floor related content, be sure to click over here on this list. That'll take you to a full playlist of them. And I will see all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool. Bye.